What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 782 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the city of Vineland. It's your boy KB coming at you for this portion of the episode, solo dolo, to get you set for the best time of year. It's Red October season, baby. I was down at the Phillies Intrasquad Game tonight as I record this late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. And it was incredible. I will get into all the happenings, everything that went down at Citizens Bank Park in front of 31,000 plus people as we watch the Phillies take on the Phillies to gear up for Red October, and our now known opponent, the Los Angeles Dodgers, will be coming to the bank this weekend and on Monday. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy, crazy time. So I will get into all the intra-squad game happenings. We'll talk about the Dodgers. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about the rest of the MLB playoffs as we have three game threes going down in the wild card round. Of course, the Reds couldn't just do us a solid and get us 4 game threes for the first time ever. But for the first time ever, we have 3 game threes, which is very exciting. We will also get into the Eagles and the Broncos as they get set to battle it out this weekend at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday. It's going to be a fun time. We'll get into the A.J. Brown discourse and how all of you are just absolute morons and just run with anything because you're horny for clicks. That's what you all are. But yes, we'll get into A.J. Brown. We'll also get into the Union as they have a chance to clinch the Supporter Shield title for the second time in 5 years, the first time since 2020, down at Subaru Park this weekend on Saturday, same day as NLDS Game 1, and there's something pretty special about that game that will be happening at Subaru Park that should curate more people to put respect on the Philadelphia Union's name. We'll get into all of that and more. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials. This is our golden goose time of year. Eagles are going. Red October's here. The Union are gearing up for the playoffs. The Sixers are in the preseason. The Flyers are in the preseason. It is going to be a month to remember. October is here. If you're not already, subscribe to the pod. Follow us at Underground PHI across the board. We're on every social platform. You can follow me at KBIZZL311 on Twitter, KBIZZLE11 on Instagram and Threads. Subscribe to the pod. If there's one thing you do in this life, subscribe to Underground Sports Philadelphia. We are not here to clickbait. We are not here to rage bait. We are here to make sure you are getting knowledgeable sports commentary on your favorite teams from people just like us who care about this team, that team, the other team over here, this team here. We talk everything Philly sports. We don't seclude. We don't discriminate. We are here to talk everything. Subscribe to the pod. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow. It helps it so that I can start doing this full time. That way, all of our creators can start doing this full time. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. Full video episodes of every show on our network. Clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It's all on our YouTube channel. We are 92 subscribers away from our next 100 subscriber milestone. Would love to hit that before my birthday on October 29th. Keep subscribing. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And because it's such a hectic time of year, I also forgot to mention, ladies and gentlemen, we posted the announcement on social media earlier this week. We have an hour of power with the man, the myth, the legend, the curator, the operator, and the brains behind the From Broad Street with Love newsletter. The From Broad Street with Love newsletter. Shamus Clancy on Underground Sports Philadelphia. He will be making weekly appearances throughout however long he wants. Weekly appearances here on the show with Shamus Clancy. We're excited to welcome him into the Underground universe. It's been a long time coming where I've wanted to have Shamus on this show just as a guest, and now he's popping on for weekly spots here with your boy as we talk all things Philly sports. Make sure you subscribe to Shamus's newsletter as well, From Broad Street with Love. It'll be linked in the description. It's free, and it's an amazing newsletter. So definitely subscribe to From Broad Street with Love. It's linked in the description. And you'll get Shamus Clancy for an hour here on this episode, along with everything else that I discuss. So let's get into it. But before we do, this show, guys, is proudly presented by the city of Vineland. And yes, that's my hometown. And the city of Vineland, well, guess what? We've got the Garden State Comic Fest coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meet the likes of the one, the only Melissa Joan Hart. Yes, Sabrina the Teenage Witch will be in Vineland, New Jersey for the Garden State Comic Fest. Plus fan favorite stars like Dan Parent, the legendary Archie's comic artist and writer, Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, Splinter, and Baby Sinclair, and Keith Williams, the iconic comic book inker from Marvel, and more. Comics, cosplay, collectibles, and over 6,000 fans. Visit gscfvineland.com for all the details. Again, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, for all the details, visit gscfvineland.com. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast.
Hello, I'm Mayor Anthony Fanucci. Vineland, New Jersey offers both a great business location and an outstanding quality of life. But don't just take my word for it, the experts agree. We're proud to be recognized as a premier food processing and logistics hub, one of New Jersey's most affordable and desirable cities, and one of the best places to retire in the country. Visit vinelandcity.org and see how our resources can work for you. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is our time. Red October is here. I was down at Citizens Bank Park with CFO Margie, my uncle, and my cousin, which was her first Phillies game ever. She got to see the Phillies take on the Phillies and watch the Phillies win in prime fashion. The Intrasquad Game was incredible. 31,000 plus fans in attendance at Citizens Bank Park on a Wednesday night to watch the Phillies play the Phillies in an intra-squad tune-up game for Red October. The Phillies are on a bye, obviously, for clinching a top 2 seed in the National League playoffs. And last year, the intra-squad game was not open to the public. I was lucky enough to be on a conference call, like Zoom press conference afterwards with Rob Thompson. And nobody really knew what happened outside of seeing photos that the Phillies had posted. So the fact that 31,000 people were in attendance, tickets were $10, they sold it out, parking was free, and you got to see the Phillies in pinstripes, you got to see the Phillies in powder blues, and you got to see every Phillies player that will be on this roster, plus some extras. Rafael Lantigua, Caleb Ricketts, Stubbs and Marshawn caught, JT DH'd. So you got all three catchers in there. And it was such an awesome environment. It was funny for the fans, I think, because nobody really knew what we should cheer for, who we should cheer for. And it was almost like pick and choose. You wanted to see some of the guys that were kind of cold going into this bye week do a little bit. It was nice to see Trey get on base. I think Harrison Bader will turn some things around. When you're facing your own pitching, you're not really used to it. But I'm excited for Harrison Bader to crank some things up in the postseason. Edmundo Sosa, the same thing. Bryce Harper hit a home run. The Powder Blues won 3-0. And I think the biggest takeaway from me was I'm not all that concerned about the hitting in an intra-squad game. I know a lot of people were freaking out online about the mishaps of the guys not hitting their own, pitching. To me, it's not that big of a deal. It is, it's one of those things that I'd rather see the pitching do well. I don't want our guys to be teeing off on our own pitching. I want to see our pitching still be dialed in on, nights where we need them most, and pitching is going to be paramount. Bryce Harper hit his home run off of Walker Buehler just over center field. And, Luzardo was great. Aaron Nola was great. The bullpen looked strong. Duran came in and gave everyone a show to get ready for the postseason. Let me tell you, Joan Duran, if he pitches in any of these games at Citizens Bank Park against the Dodgers, look out. The Phillies continue to make improvements and enhancements to his entrance, and it is just a sight to behold. And Joan Duran now has liked one of our stories on Instagram as a company, and then he went on to share the video that I took and posted to our Instagram story, to his own Instagram story. He shared it to his own story, which, did we just become best friends with Joan Duran? ? Would love to have him on the pod. But no, I think it was an awesome opportunity for people who aren't going to be able to make it to the postseason just because ticket prices are crazy compared to virtually everywhere else. It's wild. But it's a double-edged sword. It's a testament to how amazing this fan base is, and that we're going to sell out Citizens Bank Park every single game. But it's also a bummer for a lot of people when you look at some of the other teams, and the Dodgers had wild card games selling for $40. So it is a weird double-edged sword there, but the energy was great at Citizens Bank Park. It was fun. They came out and gave tips of the cap to everybody after the game, and it was a really cool environment. They had cut-ins on the Jumbotron in between innings with Phillies alumni. They had autograph signings with Phillies alumni, and it felt like a game environment. It was really, really cool. And I hope this is a trend that continues so long as the Phillies, clinch bye weeks and are playing immediately in the NLDS year in and year out. And, they're not a wild card team, but anytime there's a series like that, it brought back childhood memories of the On Deck series at Citizens Bank Park way back in the day, the final couple of spring training games that the Phillies would play against either the Pirates or the Orioles, a team that was close in proximity to Philadelphia, and they would play two final spring training tune-up games at Citizens Bank Park for $10, cheap tickets, and it gave fans an opportunity who, couldn't afford some of the early goes because of school, work, whatever it may be, and you got a chance to go and take in a spring training game and see some of your Phil's players, and the guys that weren't playing would be going around doing stuff around the stadium. So it was a really cool environment. A job well done by John Middleton, Dave Dombrowski, the entire Phillies front office. They had Tom McCarthy and Scott Fransky, Larry Anderson, and Kevin Stocker on the mics doing some very fun things with the interviews and such. It was an incredible night, and for that, I have to give a tip of the cap. A tip of the cap to the Phillies organization once again. And our tip of the cap is brought to you by our awesome pals at 47. Guys, 47 are the true, real innovators in the headwear game. The way that 47 is just out here providing for the people. They leave no crumbs. The Carhartt collection is live once again, and this time it's built in black. For your favorite NFL and NCAA teams, they've got the Carhartt collab, and it's all in black. You guys saw I had the original Carhartt collection for the Eagles and the Phillies. I'm sure there will be more with the blackout edition, but the Carhartt hats are just so clean. They have the new Diamond Cut Hitch collection, revamped, reloaded for all of your favorite teams, and for the first time in NBA styles as well. And they're just dropping incredible stuff week in and week out. Use our link in the description to shop with 47. Gear up for Red October. Gear up for the Birds. Gear up for the Flyers, the Sixers, whatever it may be, your favorite squads. Use our link in the description to do so. Join the 47 family, and you will get free shipping on all orders when you shop with our link at 47's website. So join the 47 family today. Get free shipping on all orders when you shop using our link. And we thank 47 for being a proud partner here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Absolutely love 47. They are truly, truly the best. But Red October cannot get started until we know an opponent. And ladies and gentlemen, we know an opponent. We may not have the time just yet. The Phillies will either be playing on Saturday at 6:08 p.m. or 6:38 p.m., depending on whether or not the Yankees or the Dodgers win, or not the Yankees or the Yankees or the Red Sox win their series against one another. So it'll either be a 6:08 or 6:38 start time. We know the opponent, though, and the opponent is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Phillies Dodgers NLDS best out of 5 series. For all the marbles to go to the NLCS, we get the defending champs at Citizens Bank Park. And this just goes to show you my tip of the cap to the Phillies organization to prepare for a series against the Dodgers. Get people in the building. Get them riled up. Get them excited for what's to come. And it's so exhilarating and so gut-wrenching all at the same time. You know, this is going to be a battle for the ages. Kudos to the Phillies organization, though, like I said, for getting the on-deck series, the Intrasquad Game, open to the public so we can kind of get a taste of what's to come, because now Saturday comes, it's full throttle, nitrous on the gas pedal, Phillies Dodgers. Some fun stats here from my good pal Phillies Tailgate on Twitter. If you're not following at Phil's Tailgate, you're missing out, because this dude's brain when it comes to the Phillies is second to none. I think I'm smart about the Phillies, and he's just pulling nuggets out left and right, and it's truly incredible. Dating back to June 2023, the Phillies have won their last 5 series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. To which someone said, respectfully, this is the playoffs, none of that matters. To then, in rebuttal, Phil's Tailgate, the Phillies have won their last 3 postseason series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, dating back to 1983. And it's going to be absolute scenes, because not only is it Phillies Dodgers at Citizens Bank Park on Saturday, it will be Shohei Ohtani against Christopher Sanchez on the mound. Now, I just want to remind some people, the Phillies have faced Shohei Ohtani on the mound just one time, and it was this season. Just a couple of weeks ago, quite frankly. It was back in September, and I believe it was September 15th. Was it September 15th that Ohtani pitched? No, it was September 16th, maybe? Yeah, September 16th, Shohei Ohtani pitched. And Ohtani pitched 5 no-hit innings against the Phillies, 1 walk allowed, 5 strikeouts, to which the Phillies then teed off on this Dodgers bullpen. The key to this series, this is the number one key to this series. The Phillies have to make the Dodgers pitching throw pitches. They have to make the Dodgers throw pitches. You cannot swing early on this Dodgers team unless it is a pitch to hit for the ages. You have to make them earn every pitch they throw. You have to rack up the pitch count for these Dodgers starters because that Dodgers bullpen is their Achilles heel. We saw it in games against the Reds. You know, the Reds would be down, and then the Dodger bullpen would come in, and then they'd show a minimal sign of life. So it is one of those things that you need to make them throw pitches. See pitches. Take pitches. Don't swing at balls in the dirt. And the Phillies are going to earn this series. This is not going to be handed to them. This is not, the Miami Marlins in 2023 coming in for the wild card. This is not, the feeble Braves coming in and scared to play at Citizens Bank Park. This is a series that the Phillies are going to earn every pitch, every at-bat, every moment, because this Dodgers team, no matter the success we've had against them, they are good, they are resilient, they have high-octane bats, they have Shohei Ohtani, they have Mookie Betts, they have Freddie Freeman at the top of that lineup. You have to be able to take pitches as the lineup, and the pitching will come. I think Christopher Sanchez is ready for this moment. I think Jesus Luzardo is ready for this moment. I think Ranger Suarez, Aaron Nola, they are ready for this moment. I think the bullpen, after seeing them at the Intrasquad game, I was very, impressed. Kerkering looked good. Strom looked great. Duran looked great. It's going to come down to the discipline at the plate. I'm not concerned with the pitching for the Phillies. I think the pitching is going to do its job. The plate discipline has to be there if they want to win against the Dodgers and against whoever else is next up on the schedule. Because we won't know that for a long time because we have 3 wild card games upcoming for game 3s. But Phillies Dodgers, I'm bummed that there's not a game 3 because Shohei Ohtani would have been pitching it, and the Dodgers would have had to travel on Friday, play on Saturday. But nonetheless, it is going to be crazy. It's going to be a battle. And as friend of the program and truly my GOAT, the one and only Dewani, put out on social media last night the Red October art in Red Dead Redemption, just pure bliss. Revenge is a fool's game. This is not about revenge. This is not about, avenging seasons past. This is this team coming together and going for it all as a collective unit. Red October is here. Let's ride with this team. Let's get behind this team 125%. Be the crazy animals that Kyle Schwarber called us, all within reason. And let's make the bank a living fucking nightmare. On Saturday night, on Monday, and then when we go to LA, let's clinch it in their fucking faces. Red October is here, everyone, and I'm juiced up. It hit me last night. I was, as I got home and I was eating my dinner, preparing to, record this show. And I say last night because you're listening to this on Thursday. It hit me that Red October is here. It hit me that we are getting ready for a month-long battle together as Phillies fans. And it just doesn't stop. It is live and die with every pitch. It is feeling your body vibrating in ways you didn't think were possible. It is experiencing the roller coaster ride of emotions that could only be described properly in a fictional storybook. That is Red October. Red October is what it feels like to chew 5 gum, like they used to say in those commercials, but amplified 100x. It's the feeling of a crisp, cold drink just flowing through your veins and freezing every part of you and then unleashing and breaking out of that ice. It's a feeling and a time that is impossible to describe unless you're here to experience it. And Red October 2025 is going to be the fight of our lives as Phillies fans. We are going to be battling pitch in and pitch out. We are going to be willing this team to the finish line. It's time to finish the story. It's time to put a bow on this build-up process of this era and let it be known that this team were able to climb the mountaintop and become champions that they so rightfully deserve. Bryce Harper deserves a ring on his finger. Trey Turner deserves another ring on his finger with red P inscribed on it. Kyle Schwarber, same thing, deserves a ring with a Phillies P on it. Nick Castellanos deserves a ring. Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, JT Real Muto, Brandon Marsh, Edmundo Sosa, Joan Duran, Matt Strahm, Orion Kerkering, David Robertson, Taijuan Walker, Walker Buehler, Rafael Marchand, Garrett Stubbs, Otto Kemp, Weston Wilson, Max Kepler, Tanner Banks, Dave Dombrowski. I think I said Harrison Bader, but if I didn't, Harrison Bader. This organization deserves to get John Middleton's fucking trophy back. And it's this team that has the best opportunity to do it. So cheers, everyone. Welcome to Red October 2025. And it is brought to you by our good friends at FOCO. Guys, I'm going to be dripped out in my overalls on Saturday at the bank. I will be in the building with CFO Margie on Saturday night. I will be wearing my FOCO overalls, dressed to the nines, my most exquisite outfit for Red October. And that's all thanks to FOCO. They are truly the leaders in forever collectibles, and they are here to get you ready for Red October in the best way possible so that you're swagged out, you're dripped out, and ready to rock and roll. Get your overalls, your shortalls. They've got Phillies cowboy hats that are absolutely hysterical, and you will be the talk of the town. Gear up for Red October with FOCO. Use our link in the description, and let FOCO know you're coming from us. Tag us in the post, tag FOCO when you get your gear. Let's get Red October rocking. Get your overalls and shortalls, and get ready for the fight of our lives with our friends at FOCO. Little quick around Major League Baseball. Like I said, we've got 3 Game 3s going on Thursday into the afternoon and evening because the Guardians forced a Game 3 following the Tigers winning Game 1. The Padres forced a Game 3 following the Cubs winning Game 1. And Yankees-Red Sox, it's only fitting that they go to a Game 3, and that game will be at 8:08 p.m. So we've got night baseball as well. 3:08 p.m. Tigers-Guardians, 5:08 p.m. Padres-Cubs, and then 8:08 p.m. Red Sox-Yankees. 3 Game 3s. And that's what makes the wild card beautiful. Because when you have matchups like this, when you have the American League comprised of all rivalries, Tigers-Guardians, AL Central rivalry, Red Sox-Yankees, a rivalry as old as time, Padres-Cubs, just 2 very good teams going up against each other. To get Game 3s like this is what this MLB postseason format is all about. It's unfortunate that Dodgers-Reds couldn't get there so that we get 4 Game 3s, but nonetheless, 3 teams are fighting for their playoff lives at home, and 3 teams are fighting for their playoff lives on the road in hostile environments that are going to be absolutely incredible. And 2 of those series are going to be divisional rivalries that they're going to be able to hold that over the heads of their opponent for the next year. That's what makes baseball incredible. These Game 3s are going to be absolute money. I'm intrigued to see who wins. The winner of Tigers and Guardians goes to Seattle. Winner of Red Sox-Yankees goes north of the border to Canada to play the Blue Jays. And then Padres-Cubs winner is headed to Milwaukee to play the Brewers. And then obviously we know the Dodgers are coming to Philadelphia on Saturday. We're playing in the late window, I believe. The start of the late window. Blue Jays and winner of Red Sox-Yankees looks like they'll be the first game. I would assume the Mariners would be the latest game, being that they're on the West Coast. And then Brewers, I would assume, would be either before or after. I don't know how it's going to work. It's going to be crazy, though. And Phillies Dodgers. Shohei, Christopher Sanchez on the mound Saturday night. Whew. I am fired up. I can't even articulate words for how excited I am for this opportunity for the Phillies to just bring it home. Just bring it home, boys. Do the damn thing and bring it home. And if you're going to be there on Saturday, if you're going to be there on Monday, bring the juice. Bring the vibes. Let's make Citizens Bank Park even more of an electric factory than it's been in years past. I'm so pumped to just take this in. My first time Phillies Dodgers in the postseason in person, and it's going to be an incredible environment, and I'm already sick to my stomach with how much adrenaline and excitement is flowing through my body already. So when Saturday gets here, I'm going to be even more off my rocker. It's going to be absolute scenes. Absolute scenes. But before I kick it to myself and our new first-time weekly spot, Shamus Clancy, I want to talk to you guys about our awesome pals, Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores or in your local grocery stores, convenience stores in those markets. Kenwood Beer, it's a finer lager. Grab a Kenny for a tailgate, the big game, or just a good time. KenwoodBeer.com. Must be 21 or older to do so. And as always, guys, please drink responsibly. Shamus Clancy on Underground Sports Philadelphia. It is an awesome, awesome time chopping it up with Shamus. I ran into him at the Intrasquad Game as well. He's going to be making weekly appearances here on Underground Sports Philadelphia. Like I said as well, subscribe to his newsletter. It's linked in the description from Broad Street with Love. And Shamus and I talk a little birds. We kind of put a bow on the Eagles and Bucs. We gear up for Eagles Broncos and kind of where things are headed. And then we talk a little bit of Phils. We talk a little bit of how we'd want to set up the pitching rotation for the NLDS, who we think could have a moment, what this postseason baseball is going to look like, and so much more. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here on Underground Sports Philadelphia, the one, the only, Shamus Clancy. All right, everybody, we announced it on last episode. We put it out on the socials, and it is my pleasure to welcome my good friend, the one and only Shamus Clancy, to Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's been a long time coming, and we've been just plotting and scheming over the past couple of days, and Shamus is going to be making weekly appearances on the show for the foreseeable future, which we're very excited about, and happy to have you on the show, man.
Happy to be here. Let's chop it up. Let's have some fun. The birds are 4-0. The sky's falling a little bit to some people. I'm excited. We got Red October on Saturday. I'm jonesing for just any MLB playoff action. There's a lot to be excited and happy about in life right now, right?
Exactly. And I think Jordan Mailata said it best, and I forget who posted the question that was posed to him. Like, the Eagles are going to celebrate that they're 4-0, and rightfully so. Like, is it, perfect? Are they beating teams over the head, and blowing them out? No. But they're 4-0. They're one of two teams that are 4-0. And I think that's something that should be celebrated. And, can you be critical of, some of the ways that they've gotten there? Sure. But to diminish them being one of two 4-0 teams to start the 2025 season, especially when coming into the year, I think a lot of people looked at the schedule of this first 4-game quadrant and were like, yeah, this might be, 2-2. This might be, 3-1, 1-3 if things go bad. And they come out of it 4-0.
They could have easily, with this slate, been 2-2, right? And that's not the end. That wouldn't have been the end of the world. You only had to look back to last year, flip the calendar back 1 year, 2-2. You can survive that. And they won. And I wrote about this in my little newsletter today. Did they win every game the way you'd really want them to win, convincingly 3 or 4 touchdowns, blowouts like you had the second half of last year and the conference championship game, the Super Bowl? No. But you look at week 1. They're playing their biggest rival who always gets up for them, and their best player gets kicked out before the first play from scrimmage. Not an easy win. Week 2, they're on the road against a team that they beat in the Super Bowl, so they're jonesing for revenge. And they beat them in the Super Bowl a couple years prior. They're teams that know each other well, and they're on the road. They win that, they cover too. Week 3, a team that in the Rams that has absolutely hated them all offseason, has talked so much smack. The Eagles beat them in heartbreaking fashion back in January. And they come back from this huge deficit and do it big. Jordan Davis, I was there in the building at the link. It was, the greatest regular season sporting event I've ever been at. And then this past week, they go up big. And you're thinking, oh shit, like they're going to blow this team out that they never beat. And it didn't go, the whole way in the second half. They can't even complete a pass. But they still scored 24 offensive points against Todd Bowles, who seems to have Jalen's number more than anyone on the planet. And against a team in place that they never win those Sunday afternoon games down there. And they're 4-0. Look, I don't think it's been perfect or pretty. I don't think Kevin Patullo is up for, assistant coach of the year. But I think the next 4 games will be more telling than these first 4 games, as weird as that sounds, because of the level of competition they're playing. You got Denver, and I was high on Denver before the year. Look a little shaky right now. Pat Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year. We'll see how that affects the Eagles' passing game, but they've had success against Denver in the past. They have 2 games against the Giants and a rookie quarterback, and then a game against Minnesota sandwiched in between, and potentially either J.J. McCarthy or our old buddy Carson Wentz. If they go 2-2 in this stretch and they're 6-2, Scott can be falling for me. That's fine for me. If they're winning each of these games by 2 or 3 points and they're 7-1, 8-0, maybe that's still a little concerning in its own right. Maybe that feels more like 2023 when they're 10-1, 5-0. They're not killing teams. Now, if they run through this slate going in the bye, they're 8-0. They have a couple double-digit wins in there, specifically against the New York and maybe Minnesota on the road. Then you're thinking, let's just calm the frig down and enjoy an 8-0 team. They're going in the bye. Huge Monday night game against the Green Bay Packers, who might not even be as good as we originally thought.
Right.
The following week, take things from there.
And I think on top of that, too, like you look at the next 4 games, like you mentioned, like I don't think Minnesota's as good as a lot of people coming into the season we're talking about. Like their defense, they look old. Carson Wentz is playing for them now. J.J. McCarthy wasn't, blowing people away outside of 1 quarter against the Chicago Bears. I mean, that's a team that the Eagles should probably, go in and win by, 10 points maybe, just based on talent alone. And then, sure, you have, Jackson Dart 2 times in 3 weeks, but how long is that, rookie quarterback magic going to last with the stink of that team and no Malik Neighbors now? Like, there's so much that is positive about this team, and yet we want to just sit and nitpick the little things that I think inside the building they also know need to be fixed. And I think that's also a big difference optically from 2023, where it was like, oh, we're just winning games. Like, we're coming out on top. That's what matters. Now it's like, yeah, we're winning games, but we also know we have to fix so much shit that's going wrong, and they're addressing that, and they're aware of it, where in 2023 that everyone just seems to kind of compare this start to for whatever reason, they're aware that, it hasn't been perfect, and they need to work on things, and they're being vocal about that, when they're talking after games and press conferences with the media and the media scrums and stuff, and I think that is just a sign of growth, too, from the guys that were on that 2023 team to now.
Yeah, I think Nick and Jalen in particular, and Jordan as well, were all super self-aware in their post-game chats after the Bucs win yesterday. We're recording on, was it Monday, right? And they're saying, it's good to be good and undefeated, but you can't let being good get in the way of being great. And they're never going to say, hey, we're the defending champions. Our goal is just the Super Bowl. They're never going to outwardly talk about that, nor should they. When they're saying they want to be great, they know they want to be a championship level team. And maybe they're not right now. But as we've seen since maybe over the last 2 or 3 years, I think parity has run its course in the NFL and been, flatlines, the talent level and everything like that. You see Kansas City's 2-2, Baltimore's 1-3. And it's week 4 and you just have 2 undefeated teams left. And I think those 2 teams are probably on a collision course for a matchup in Santa Clara in February. But otherwise, it's a league where no one is really outstanding the way it might have been when we were a little bit younger, and you always had 2 or 3 juggernauts in the AFC between New England, Indianapolis, and Pittsburgh, and then you always had like 1 or 2 teams in the NFC, whether it was the Birds or Green Bay or someone else that pops up. That always was the mix, and it just doesn't really feel like that's the case anymore outside of the Eagles themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that I feel like this first 4-game quadrant was the toughest stretch I think they could potentially have all year, especially because it is the first 4 games. Like down the line when they play, Green Bay and the Lions back to back, and you have that mix in there, you have the Black Friday game, like that's 2 months away, and we don't know what those teams are going to look like. A trade deadline is going to happen. Injuries are going to happen. Those teams could look completely different from what they look like right now, for better or for worse. So to get, these first 4 games out of the way, you walk away with 2 massive NFC tiebreakers when it comes to the playoffs down the line. If you're an Eagles fan like we are, you should be absolutely thrilled about where they're sitting right now, but also just know they also haven't played their best, and they're building towards that.
It's in the inverse order, but in reality, could you see come January and February, the order of the Eagles' playoff opponents? Say they get a first-round bye. Tampa in the divisional round, Los Angeles in the conference championship, and Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
100%.
They basically just did that, which is a realistic path come the postseason. They just did that in reverse over the last month.
And that's coming off of pretty much nobody on the starting offense or defense playing in the preseason, them getting used to a brand new offensive coordinator, which I still think there's still some training wheels there and figuring a lot of things out. And that will come. And I think, we've seen that over the past couple of seasons where it's taken a little bit of time for the offense to really find itself. I think one of the biggest benefits through 4 weeks, and we noticed his absence when he was gone, Dallas Goedert has been a huge part of the success of this team through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I thought early on in the season, a lot of the run game woes, particularly in that Kansas City game, were driven from Goddard's absence, because I think we think of him, and this is correct, as this kind of George Kittle-like player, a guy that can get the ball, yak threat, run through a couple defenders, and pick up those hard-fought extra yards. You think back to Green Bay game in the playoffs, he stiff armed, all those stiff arms on the way to a touchdown, kind of his iconic defining moment as an Eagle. He has those things, but I think as a blocker, he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. And usually you think of a blocking tight end as a reserve, a Jack Stoll type, but he's doing that while being a legitimate receiving threat too. And I think they really missed that. I think they have other run game modes outside of that, but his presence, particularly in the red zone, where the Eagles are 11 for 11 this year in scoring touchdowns so far, I thought Kevin Patullo did a phenomenal job scheming up different things in the red zone, particularly with Goddard back out there in the lineup and being a force and being healthy again, at least healthy for now, because he's going to miss some more time in the year. That's just the nature of his play style and the nature of his injury history. But those kind of Andy Reid style, the shovel pass to him, as well as kind of a tush-push variant, if you want to call it the tush pass, those things were really fun to watch. I adored the play call and the play design there. And you really only think of him as the fourth option on this offense between – and it doesn't, you think of that in theory, right? You have AJ, you have DeVonta, you have Saquon as the running back and sometimes as a pass catcher. But they really do utilize him as much, if not more than AJ and DeVonta sometimes. And I think that speaks to Jalen's trust in him. And look in the postseason, he was their leading receiver over that, 4-game stretch in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, going to what the Eagles did in the red zone, I think Field Yates tweeted today, the Eagles have had 11 trips to the red zone this year. They've scored on all 11 trips. So that's also like another positive of this where, like, yes, has Kevin Patullo not been perfect, but when the red zone rolls around, like, the Eagles are finding ways to get it done. And I think, those tush-push variants that we saw where it was different play calls, whether it was the shovel pass to Goddard, the play to Saquon, like, I think that deserves a lot more credit than it's even getting now, and how everyone loved those plays, because that's just your offensive coordinator and your quarterback knowing your opponent, where going into this game, everyone's talking about, Vita Vea is the tush-push stopper. They're bringing in, guys to stop the tush-push, and that's just knowing your opponent and scheming around your opponent and kind of playing that 4D chess match that coaches play against each other. And I thought that was, like, one of the best, play calling, scenarios that Patullo's had all year, is just knowing your opponent and finding ways to beat what they're going to throw at you.
It's such an FU to the huge discourse around the tush push and all these pregame segments. How are the Bucs going to stop the tush push? Well, they're not gonna, because they're not even going to run it. They're going to do all these variants, and you have Saquon doing his little high strut into the end zone. I thought was awesome. There was no one there. And I saw someone on Twitter, not a writer or anything like that, just a random account that pops up and saying, why wouldn't the Eagles save this until January? I think because the tush push still remains unstoppable in its own right. But when you talk about the Eagles aren't winning with style points, those are kind of style points plays in their own right? because they're doing it against a team that's built itself up as the tush-push stopper. You have Vita Vea, you have their defensive line. That's excellent, right? But being able to showcase that you can be multiple, as Nick always says, he likes using that phrase, and illustrating that you could do this in just so many different ways. And it's not, the Eagles offense isn't predicated on just being a tush-push factory, right? They can do a lot of different things. And even in those scenarios where we expect it, their offense is so talented. And even though we do have concerns over Kevin Patullo, there is still a baseline there where he's being creative. And look, you'd like him to be a little bit more creative between the 20s because of the success they have in the red zone. And I think just talent-wise, Jalen's a perfect red zone quarterback. Goddard's awesome right there. And then Saquon. But you'd like to see him build off those successes in the red zone and extend that to, an entire drive, an entire quarter, an entire game.
I think my biggest takeaway, too, from the first 4 weeks, everyone losing their minds that, outside of the Rams game, AJ's not getting, receptions and not scoring touchdowns. DeVonta Smith not getting normal DeVonta Smith production and everything. I personally think it's just an extension of the run game hasn't been there yet. And you look at Saquon's stats, sure, he has 3 touchdowns in 4 games, but he's averaging 3.1 yards a carry. The run, blocking has not been great. And I think that is the bigger issue, is that they are having difficulty just getting the run game going. And I'm just like, Mekhi Becton leaving in free agency shouldn't, be this domino effect. And I understand Landon's been hurt, Juergens has been hurt as well, but I think that should be priority number one for a lot of the things they need to clean up. Is the run blocking needs to be a lot more efficient to get Saquon going, and then that will open up things for AJ, things for DeVonta, and keep defenses more honest, where right now, teams are just like, let's just, go and play zone against these guys, take them out of the game, and force them to do a lot of different things that they're not customary to doing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. The thing that I'm most concerned about this team, and it's interrelated with the play calling, is the run game. Landon Dickerson, when healthy, probably the best guard in the league. Very, very clearly not healthy. Cam Juergens, maybe not the best center in the game, but up there, clearly a little hampered. And Tyler Steen, I think, has done a valiant effort, but Mekhi Becton, at least at these points in their respective career, is the better player. Then you have essentially 2 games Lane Johnson's missed, and last week coming out, and Fred Johnson did a valiant job last week, and they survived some of those really rough Matt Pryor snaps. Seems like a nice guy, just not really working out when he's getting put in there. Similar situation, we had to fill in a little bit this week, and then Fred Johnson goes back out there to in front and in relief of Lane when Lane's on the sideline. And I think that's a trickle-down effect. They're doing all these inside runs when their 3 interior offensive linemen aren't the same caliber at the same standard that they were last year or the year prior or the year before that. So that, and then they're calling all these very predictable first and second down runs. They're doing this at an astronomical rate that's becoming so predictive. They're running that same pistol formation that they're running out of. They're doing runs on those pistol formation plays, close to 100% of the time so far this season. And they're getting in situations where they're predictable on first down. Do a little inside run for 1 or 2 yards. 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, they're doing the same thing, and then it's 3rd and 6, and then the defense is going to bring a full-on blitz, and then Jalen's going to have to do a really quick throw that he kind of launches downfield. It's really predictable, and sometimes in those situations when it gets to 3rd and 11, I think Bo Wolf of PHLY put this stat out there on either Twitter or Blue Sky, whatever it was, that they're doing, I guess you could just call it a coward's draw, like 58% of the time on 3rd and 11s this year, which is obviously the highest rate in, since this thing has been tracked. That is dumbfounding. It kind of flies in the face of the philosophy the Eagles organization has as this forward-thinking, analytically minded organization. And I think just taking out everything else that we want to say about Patullo or the run game, just giving up on 3rd down when you have those 3 pass catchers and a quarterback that can throw the deep ball relatively well, that pisses me off more than anything else regarding the team.
And on top of that, too, like, you have AJ and DeVonta on the outside, and I know, the Eagles catch a lot of flack for what they gave up for him. I still think Jahan Dotson's a very valuable slot receiver for this team.
Sure.
The fact that they're not using him as well is just, like, makes you scratch your head and being like, what is, the the motives between the 20s, like you said, like figuring that out is going to be huge, and I think it all is a baseline of the run game just has not been there.
And I think that is more likely to work itself out over the course of the year than thinking Jalen needs to turn into Peyton Manning in the next 6 weeks for them to win the Super Bowl, right? Because you're going to assume, and you can't just assume everyone's going to get healthier, because that's just not the way it works. NFL players get hurt more and more. And Landon's a guy, even dating back to his college years, where he transferred, he had season-ending injuries, and that was a really concern for him in the draft, and probably why he went early second round rather than being a first-round talent, even as an interior offensive lineman. In what was that, 2021? Mm-hmm. I think it's a situation where I think Steen will get a little bit better. I think Cam will get a little bit healthier, hopefully. I think Landon will get a little healthier, hopefully. And I just trust that you can't be that bad when Saquon Barkley's your running back and Jalen Hurts your quarterback. There were a couple of those, if you want to call it a read option, if you want to call it a QB design run, whatever, where Jalen kept the ball a couple of times and picked up 7 or 8 yards a pop. I think those plays will go a while to helping set up Saquon on some of those interior runs. And maybe it doesn't provide immediate dividends like it didn't in the Tampa Bay game, but say Jalen keeps 1 or 2 of those early against Denver. Defense is more aware of that, and then Saquon breaks one up the middle for a classic 60-yard touchdown. I think that could be setting up for something like that too.
And I think it should also get more praise than it's getting. Michael Clay has the special teams unit playing out of their minds right now, and we as fans should not take that for granted because of how difficult the NFL has made special teams and to play special teams right now with all the different rule changes year over year. It's tough to get into a groove with new rules flying in every year for different aspects of special teams. Michael Clay, I've seen a ton of people, posting about it on Twitter and everything. He's entering like Jeff Stoutland territory where it's like, just give this guy whatever he wants so he doesn't leave the building.
Dude, you flash back to what was that date? I guess February 7th or whatever, 2023. Eagles lose the Super Bowl to Kansas City. It was a Kadarius Toney has that really long punt return. I'm like, this guy needs to be fired tomorrow. Don't let him back on the flight home, all that stuff. And at the time, I feel like that was justified, and the Eagles special teams wasn't up to par of their offensive and defensive counterparts that season. But this year, the guy might get a head coaching interview or two. He could be the next Harbaugh as a guy that goes from a special teams coach to maybe a defensive coordinator. If he wants to do that, maybe he gets a head coaching job. This is a phenomenal job, and it seems circumstantial or anecdotal. I've never seen this many block kicks through 4 weeks in my life. And it's not just the Eagles I'm talking about. I'm talking about across the league. And I don't know if it's just a random occurrence, if something's changing, if it's so weird because I feel like we're also seeing kickers just 60 yards is automatic now. It's the way 45 was 20 years ago or 55 was 10 years ago. And then at the same time, you're seeing these defenses scheme up all these blocks. And I think that they were alluding to that in their post-game interviews yesterday where they're saying, hey, they gave all the credit to Michael Clay on that punt block. They saw something in there, and the way they were celebrating after that play too, it was clear that they had seen something on tape with their setup on punt protection, Tampa Bay, where they knew they could do that. And all the credit to Cam Latu, just coming up as this guy who's converted tight end. He's getting all these fullback rep now after BVS's season-ending injury in week 1. And he's really made the most of that as a special teamer and getting those snaps out there on offense too. And then Sidney Brown, never going to be an every down defensive player in the NFL, I don't think. And it looks like it's no longer a split job at safety for him where, the Eagles' own second-round rookie there has kind of taken that job by the hands, however you want to say it. But definitely can excel as a special teams player. I think they really have a good crop of guys that are multifaceted and can really help out on special teams. You have Sidney Brown, you have Cam Latu, you have Will Shipley, and then even guys like DeGene can still make an impact on special teams, Grant Calcaterra, stuff like that. I'm really happy with that unit right now, a unit that's kind of been an issue in the past, as we talked about that infamous Super Bowl play. And as a guy who's been a hater for him in the past, I have to, give my flowers to Michael Clay for what's happened the last 2 weeks, because without him, they have a run-of-the-mill special teams coordinator. The Eagles are probably 2-2.
100%. And I mean, like, you look at some of the little things too. Like I think it was either Brooks Cabina from The Athletic or somebody tweeted during the game, like Jake Elliott has the knuckleball in his arsenal now that the Rams kicker was put in our way, and we were having difficulty fielding it. So the fact that in 1 week, Jake Elliott and Michael Clay can sit down, discuss the tapes, see how they're doing it, and then immediately Jake Elliott's able to do it, like, again, that's just good knowledge of your past opponents to put something in your arsenal to make you that much better.
Before the Tampa field goal at halftime, which turned out to be that 65-yarder, was the longest outdoor field goal of all time, which is just bonkers. I had the utmost confidence that I believe it was Tank Bigsby was back there.
Yes.
That was going short and he was taking it back just because of the pure special teams. I don't know if you want to call it luck or just talent or success or efficiency they've had the last 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, he's going to miss this. And Bigsby, who could not field anything for shit, and the issues they were having in the Rams game, I was like, this is going to be his Eagles moment right here. And that kick would have been good for like 70. He crushed that. It's Matt Bryant vibes.
It's crazy. Like you said, like just the amount of just like ease that these 60-plus yard field goals are coming at right now is unbelievable. We also need to get Tank Bigsby out of number 37 because it's just bad jersey analytics. Yeah,
it's not a good number for him. Just not his style. He's a single-digit guy, I think.
Yeah, he needs something a lot smaller than 37.
Yeah.
What do you make of, everyone's going to be talking about it. Of course, it happens on a week where the Phillies have a bye week. What do you make of AJ's tweet?
I'd rather him not tweet, but I don't like throwing around the diva term. I think that's there's a weird connotation here, but the best receivers in my lifetime have always had an edge to them, right? You look at the guys we grew up watching, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens. These guys want the ball, and they want the ball not because they're selfish, I don't think. It's because they want to win, and to them, and to their, to their point, Randy and T.O., two best I've ever seen. And AJ, top 3, top 5 guy, whatever you want to say, maybe on a Hall of Fame trajectory. They believe in their heart of hearts, and they're right, that their team's best path to victory is them getting the ball. In reality, the Eagles don't win in week 3 unless they get AJ that heavily involved. And the Eagles tried that a little bit in week 4. They had an early target to AJ that went awry. They had a later deep ball that Hurts just had a kind of a horrendous throw on, I thought, as much as I'm a Jalen supporter. I think they tried to get him involved, and it just really didn't work. And I think that was more on the quarterback than the offensive play caller compared to what had happened in week 2 and week 3. I think they tried to get him involved. And I think at the same time, you have to give credit to Todd Bowles. I wrote this today in my newsletter. I love getting worked up and angry at the quarterback or the coach, receiver, whoever. At the same time, everyone else in the other team, from the players to the coaches, also get paid to be professional in their sport. If they were completely shit, they wouldn't be 3-0. Todd Bowles wouldn't have a ring on his hand as a defensive coordinator, and they wouldn't be the team we're spending all of the last week talking about how they own the Eagles. You know what I mean? They still put up 24 offensive points against that team. And look, if AJ just gets 100 yards every week, they're going to go undefeated. And they essentially kind of go undefeated anyway. They're 19-1, 20-1 their last X amount of games. He should get the ball more. I think overthink a little bit. Just why not just run a slant, every 4th play, every 3rd play for him? I feel like that just maybe that's just dad talk or armchair quarterback and armchair philosophy, whatever you want to say. It probably should be a little smoother, a little simpler with the quarterback and coach and receiver and the offensive line you have. But at the same time, the other guys, they played a couple of really good defensive minds in Spags in week 2 and Bowles this week.
Yeah, and I mean, even though he was able to torch them, the Rams have a very young and up-and-coming defense.
They're good too. They played 4 good teams.
Scrubs, I know you're a big comic book guy, big X-Men guy, and I was thinking about this today when we were, preparing to record and everything. What X-Men arc do you think this Eagles team is in?
Oh, man, I love that question. I don't want to take up too much time to think. It's not like the Age of Apocalypse. That's like the end of the Chip Kelly era, I would say.
Right.
Has to be something a little bit more hopeful. How about House of X? the kind of like the soft reboot from, I guess that was 2019. Jonathan Hickman's on there. A brand new world. They have their own country. The Eagles have their defending championship. There's maybe some warts to work out, but things should be smooth sailing on the surface. And maybe there's some things bubbling under the surface, literally, in the case of that story, that might, be cause for concern. But let's ride out the good vibes and the parties and stuff like that.
I like that. But yeah, I mean, this next 4 quadrant, like you said, like this should be even more smoother sailing than what these first 4 games have been, even though they ended up being 4-0. It was, a battle to get there in a lot of ways, on top of dealing with a weather delay in week 1. Like there was so much that they had to overcome. And now you get the Broncos, which I don't know about you. I feel like we're on the same page. We got to go with the Nick Sirianni special uniforms in week 5 against the Broncos with the white jerseys and black pants.
I was literally just about to say, no, it'd be a great vibe. Thursday, day after the Eagles or the Phillies open practice, people have Red October in their minds. Boom, all black jersey announcement. We're doing that on Sunday. Because they have 4 games now where they could do the alternate uniforms. Yeah. They have 3. I figured the most obvious game where they would do the one black out game was Black Friday. I feel like that makes the most sense. But I always think back to in 2017, they absolutely fucking steamrolled that Denver team that was at the time number 1 in defense. I think I'd been number 1 in defense the 2 previous years too. It was Jay Ajayi's first game in Philadelphia. That was a big blast. That was an awesome game. And that was one of those games where they weren't just winning, they were winning with style points, as we've kind of alluded to. And I think, does that really mean a lot in the real sense? No. But for me, being a crazy person, right, if they wore those black uniforms, I'm like, oh, they're going to win by 40 on Sunday. Let's go. Take, Jalen Hurts 3 touchdowns, in your same game parlay.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even if they go all blacks, which I agree, either Black Friday or I thought the Lions game, since that was Sunday Night Football.
Oh, yeah, either one of those. Either one of those. Yeah, I like that.
But even if they go, because a couple years ago when they went to Denver and DeVonta Smith had that huge game, they wore the white jerseys with the black pants, I think, for the first time.
I think it was the first time, yeah.
That would be kind of cool and make that just like a Denver staple, like whenever you play them.
Yeah. They are using white at home, which they, like, people that are, like sickos online make a lot about that, myself included. So that was the first time they had done white jerseys at home since 2015. The first time they did white and green at home since 2013, I think. So there's a chance right now where you could just do, hey, we're doing white and black at home. I don't know what the weather is going to be on Sunday. I get it in week 3. It was really hot. It was hotter than I thought being in the stadium for that Rams game. See what the weather is on Sunday.
Hopefully it's a nice little
low of 55, high of 77. That was kind of what it was supposed to be in week 3, and I thought it was hotter than that. It wasn't as cloudy. I was sitting up in the, behind the one end zone, burning alive with the, I had a cutoff T-shirt on and had the worst farmer's tan in human history. But maybe they go white jerseys and change up a little bit with the black pants. I'd like it. Let's have some fun. Let's do something a little bit different. Let's add some pizzazz to things.
And I feel like this is a huge DeVonta Smith week. He always, for whatever reason, whenever we play the Broncos, he comes ready to play. I don't know if it's just like, he wants to show out because Patrick Surtain is catching the A.J. Brown matchup. Yeah. It's like, hey, here's my time to shine. Yeah. But it always feels like whenever we play the Broncos, DeVonta Smith goes off for, 80 to 100 yards, has a couple of touchdowns, and he's the focal point of the offense. And I'd be shocked if that wasn't the case again on Sunday against Denver.
I like it. I also think playing against Bo Nix, the Eagles defense has been opportunistic, but I think they're, a couple of times where they were like just as close to getting a sack. And I think that speaks to Baker's ability for sure, where they were just as close to getting an interception. There was a lot of interceptable balls that could have went their way. Obviously, Jahad Campbell had a very clutch one, with 7 or 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter to preserve that 8-point lead. But I think, Denver is really, I don't want to call it a tune-up game. I don't want to diminish Sean Payton's owned the Eagles in his career, or, not trying to, talk it like that. But I think there's an opportunity to really just put a crooked number up, have a couple defensive turnovers, have Jalen look like, toss 275 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns. Saquon gets 80 yards on the ground and looks like a groove again. I really think this is a get-right game for them. I think they know that. I don't think they're overlooking this game. There's nothing to overlook, too. They're not overlooking to the Giants on Thursday Night Football. They're not overlooking to that Minnesota game. They're not overlooking to Green Bay on Monday Night Football in 6 weeks. They're looking at this week too. They've played against these guys before. They know some of these players. But I think they can really, really smack them at home.
100%. And I mean, I think the other big takeaway to put a bow on the birds here, like, not only are the Eagles 4-0, Washington's 2-2, Dallas is 1-2-1 after just a disgusting time.
That's a disgusting line, 1-2-1. That's what the Eagles were in 2020, right? They had that weird tie against Cincy that was pathetic, and then it was just a terrible season.
And the Giants are 1-3 and beat everybody's favorite Twitter quarterback.
F-man, we like to call him. And then Jalen's anti-F-man.
Yeah, and the Eagles are 4. So you have a 2-game lead in the division, and you're stacking wins now to where, like, down the line, you're not playing Washington until 2 of the final 3 weeks of the season.
They're going to have a home playoff game. I don't know if it's going to be a bye. They're going to win this division, and they might win it they might not win it at 14-3. It might be closer to 11-6, which people aren't going to be excited about. But if you have a home playoff game in the first round, as they did last year, it doesn't really matter after that.
And I think it's shaping up, too, like we said earlier, like the NFC doesn't, at this point in time through 4 weeks, look as much of a gauntlet as it was going into the first week of the regular season. Like Green Bay ties the Cowboys. They don't look as, scary on defense as I think a lot of people thought they were going to. Jordan Love has turnover problems like he's had his whole career. Minnesota's throwing Carson Wentz out there. I'll give credit to Detroit. They've bounced back from that one loss to the Packers where it was like, is Detroit done?
I will say Detroit, they have this like people's champ vibe to them because they're a franchise that's never won anything. I think Dan Campbell rocks, but I think his personality compared to Nick Sirianni's really showcases, how much people hate or love the guy, compared to the other one. And they really haven't played them in this era where Detroit's been good. They beat them in week 1 in 2022, but Detroit wasn't really Detroit yet. They got better than next year. They've been good the last 2 or 3 years now. But they really haven't matched up as mano a mano. We thought that was going to be the NFC title game last year, but Washington smacked them in the divisional rounds, and then the Eagles smacked Washington. So maybe that tells you everything you know. But that Sunday night game, I think, is going to have a lot of juice, and I would like to see the Eagles, put a nice beating on them to quell the talk of it could possibly be anyone else's conference other than the Birds'.
Yeah, I always like to say Nick Sirianni, like growing up is realizing that Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni are the same coach. They're just like,
yes,
it's like Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
If people want to know what Nick Sirianni does, which he does a lot, and Dan Campbell does a lot too, obviously. But if you're going to ask what Nick Sirianni does, then you have to ask what Dan Campbell does too, because he calls neither the plays on the offense or the defense.
Exactly.
He's a locker room guy. He's a motivator. He connects with his players. He does that exceptionally, and that's why Detroit consistently is good over the last couple of years. At the same time, that's what Nick does, and that's why the players like him. That's why he's been in 2 Super Bowls. That's why he's the winningest coach since 1978. I think I saw on Twitter yesterday. Yeah. So there you go.
But yeah, I mean, 4-0. If you're an Eagles fan, you should feel good about where this team is sitting as one of the lone undefeated teams through 4 weeks and the only one left in the NFC.
We've seen so many underwhelming Eagles teams. Not saying we've grown up in a great era for Eagles football. There's no doubt about it. Through the McNabb era to Doug winning under Doug and especially under Nick. But there were some lean years there, and for specifically older generations of fans, you cannot be angry at 4-0. It's not been perfect. I'm not saying we need to just skim over all the warts or issues that are legitimate, but it's entertainment too. We're doing this to try to have a career or whatever, but it's supposed to be fun. Let's have some fun. The Eagles are 4-0. The Phillies are the odds-on favorite to win the World Series.
It doesn't happen every year.
It feels like it happens every year now because we're all spoiled now, and everyone's used to being so unhappy that they can't properly sit in the moment and enjoy it. I don't know. I don't think the Eagles are definitively 100% going to win a Super Bowl, or the Phillies are 100% going to win the World Series. But I really, really want to enjoy the next 3 or 4 weeks in a place where 10 years ago you couldn't imagine this happening.
100%, and on top of that too, just like 2022. They may not be a major 4 sport, but the Philadelphia Union are the best team in MLS too. So
sure.
We have 3 teams that are, the best at what they're doing right now. So just enjoy this fun time that we get to be like the center of attention. That doesn't always come around as often as we like to think. But speaking of the Phils, Intrasquad Game is on Wednesday, which I love that they're opening it to the public.
Good vibes, good energy. Really good energy, I think.
I think it's so smart because last year they kind of just did like the COVID era thing. They pumped, crowd music or crowd noise. They played music, walk-up music and everything. It's not the same.
That team played way too tight last year. They seemed to be up their ass a little bit. They had one division for the first time. I think they maybe took things for granted a little bit because they went to the World Series unexpectedly in 2022. They get upset in the NLCS the previous year, but they're like, that was a fluke. We're going to win it. They kind of took things for granted. And I didn't really like the energy in last year's team. I think this year is much, much different. And I'm not trying to overreact to just, 20,000 fans going to a practice, but there just seems to be something a little bit different about this year's team. They only won one more game, I believe, than they did last year. But the way the season ended, the way you brought in some of these big guys that have been huge contributors at deadline, and Duran and Harrison Bader, this is a lot of fun right now. This is what you dream of in baseball, really.
And it was like one of those things too that, game 162, I talked about it on Monday's episode. Like, you won the game with three of your most unlikely candidates being the biggest components to it. Kepler hits the game-tying home run. It goes to extra innings. Orion Kerkering, who's been dreadful with runners on base, comes in the 10th inning with the ghost runner on, gets out of that and has one of his best innings over the last month. And then Nick Castellanos hits the walk-off to seal the deal for you so that you do get that extra win. And now the Phillies incrementally in the Rob Thompson era have finished with a better record year over year since he's taken over since 2022. I think that just speaks to the demeanor of the team too. Is like any given game, it's somebody else that steps up for this team.
They're deep.
That's the big difference for me compared to last year where it was like you're relying on Kyle Schwarber to hit home runs. You're relying on Bryce Harper to have the moment, and then everyone else will follow suit. But if those guys don't do it, nobody else knows what to do with their hands like they're Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, Marsh has played his best baseball ever. I'm one of those people that kind of hates Alec Boehm, but I'm not going to flip my script until I see him at the parade because I need to keep the same energy because he's hitting like 650 or something since he's come back from injury. So I'm just going to be like, oh, this guy's up. Shit. I'm going to keep that energy. He
finished the regular season with a top 10 batting average in the National League.
Yeah. So I got to keep that demeanor for him. No real shade. I hope he shows me up and hits 400, wins NLCS, MVP, World Series MVP, all that stuff. I think Brandon Marsh is awesome. I think JT had a really, really underrated season, both as on the field and at the plate as well. Schwarber, I think Bryce is kind of like his numbers, especially the power numbers weren't, what they were in his MVP year in Philadelphia in 2021, or they didn't look at the same rate stats he had during the 2022 playoff run where, he was on a, Ruthian tear really. But you're going to tell me that this guy's up in the playoffs, you're not thinking extra base hit automatic every time he's up there. It's not going to actually happen, but that guy inspires all the confidence in the world. And I think he's probably their best player, but at the same time, Schwarber has that leadership role to me as someone who's won before, who's been on so many different playoff teams, that type of stuff. And, I think he could be a homer or two away from, I think he's in second place for most active postseason home runs. I think he's at 21. And Altuve, who on the those Astros days has 27. 6 would be a lot in a playoff run. That definitely means the Phillies are in the World Series. So
Chase Utley territory.
Yeah, so hopefully he breaks it this year and is World Series MVP, and then announce at the parade he just signed a $250 million contract, and it's pure jubilation.
I did love optically that he gave the Fan Appreciation Day speech, and I'm like, I feel like they wouldn't let him do that if they didn't have the full-blown intention of like, yeah, he's coming back.
100%.
And I think he wants to be back, and he's kind of made that pretty known. And I think a lot of people have run with that whole Cincinnati story far too much.
I didn't even think about that in terms of if they play them in the NLDS, that's gonna be a talking point. Oh my God! So the best scenario is NLDS. Phillies take care of business. Games 1 and 2 at home. They're playing Cincinnati. They upset the Dodgers somehow, which would be everything you hope for. And then game 3 hits like 3 bombs there, and it's like announced after the game, love you guys, can't wait to be a Philly for life though.
Throws out the first pitch to his dad, like the regular season.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like speaking on the depth too, like, you know, Trey Turner comes back, plays a couple of innings on Sunday, and, you know, finishes with the National League batting title, first time since Richie Ashburn that a Philly has done it. And I just hate the narrative that everyone's running with, like, oh, it's the lowest batting average for a batting title winner since 19 whatever. And it's like, the dude's the only guy in the National League that hit 300. Why don't we celebrate that?
It's weird. Like, I don't think it's ever mattered less, regardless of what he hit, the batting title, which sucks in its own right. It reminds me of, you know, when Miguel Cabrera was winning the Triple Crown and everyone thought Mike Trout should have been MVP, and I was probably in that camp too. And in itself, it isn't necessarily, you know, the be-all, end-all to have the Triple Crown, but we should step back. Baseball is such a historic sport too, where you should kind of appreciate those things. Like, I feel like this is the topic of the podcast. Like, let's appreciate certain things. I don't want to be just a cheerleader or that type of person, because if things are bad, no one's going to tell them they're bad more than I will. But I just don't think that's the case right now.
100%. And I mean, speaking on the depth too, like, Edmundo Sosa's playing some of the best baseball he's ever played in his career. Like,
it's a shame he can't be an everyday guy in the playoffs, but he's going to have a moment or two, no doubt about it in my mind.
Like, he's going to come off the bench in a key moment, no matter what series it is, and it's going to be like, that was, you know, his Matt Stairs moment, or that was his, you know, big, you know, Phillies moment that we're going to remember forever.
Yeah, I mean, injuries pop up too. Look, Trey's been hurt. Alex been hurt. You might need him, you know, I'm not saying those guys are going to get hurt, but just the configuration of the field could change, and you really might need him to step up and be an everyday player. That's the nature of the sport. That's the nature of injuries. But he's going to be ready, and I think a lot of those bench guys are going to be ready for their moment if called upon. It's going to be an exciting time.
And I think it's super important, too, that, you know, while Trey was out, you saw Harrison Bader can handle hitting leadoff. And
I kind of don't want Trey to hit leadoff. I thought, like, we kind of have to. Yeah. But then I don't know where Bader hits after that. I'm really, really excited to see what the NLDS Game 1 lineup looks like, because I think that'll be if that works in Game 1, they're just going to run with that the rest of the way. I just don't know where you hit Turner if he's not leadoff. You're not going to hit him sixth, right? I guess you hit Bader 4th or 5th. That just doesn't feel right for him too. Maybe you go, let's run through. Let's say, I think it's more likely than not that Trey's going to be the guy, right? He just won the batting title. He's a, 9-figure contract. They're going to, do right by their guy. So it's going to be Trey, then Kyle, because I'm not taking him out of the 2 spot, no doubt about it. Not taking Bryce out of 3. I guess maybe Bohm hitting cleanup, RBI guy.
Either
Bader 5th. Yeah.
F4.
Yeah, and then, Bader 5th, Marsh 6th, JT 7th. I don't know.
Stott.
And then Marsh and Stott?
Or it would be Kepler or Castellanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess Stott would hit 9, which is effectively like,
second leadoff in a way.
Hitter.
Yeah.
And then, depending on who's playing, right field, left field, whatever, with Kepler and Castellanos with the platoon and everything, wherever you decide to hit them. And and I think too, like, compared to years past, there's so much more speed in this lineup than we've been accustomed to having. Like, obviously we've had Trey the past couple of years. Stott is able to steal a number of bases, but like Bader's speed, I think, is so like underappreciated. JT can still really run the base paths really well, and like
no one thinks they're faster than they are than Bryce Harper too.
Right. Bryce will try to go first to third on a single.
Yes, yeah.
And that's rubbed off on Weston Wilson, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be such an underrated aspect of this team, no matter what series it is that they can use that speed to their advantage and, really throw a lot of these starting pitchers off that are, upcoming for whoever they end up playing, whether it's the Dodgers, the Reds, or, in the NLCS, whoever it ends up being. But I think that's going to be something that they can definitely use. Who's your rotation for the NLDS? Who are you throwing out there?
You only have to use 3. You only have to use 3 guys in NLDS, right?
Yeah.
So let's do, obviously, Sanchez. You coulda, shoulda, would have been Cy Young this year. Probably finished second, right? Then I'm going, I guess, Ranger number 2. I think that thigh contusion is not something that's going to be concerned. My issue with Ranger is that he's not a guy, especially in the playoffs, I think can go 7. He seems more like a guy that goes like 5 1/3 or 5 2 of, 1 run, 3 hit ball. So I don't know if they're going to try to like piggyback a starter, because your configuration is way different in the postseason. So maybe it's a situation where you're hoping you get 5 or 6 out of Ranger, and then you try to get 2 out of Walker Buehler, and then you hand it over to the big arms in the bullpen. I wouldn't hate something like that. And then you have Luzardo in game 3, who I think can go longer than Ranger, even though when he's on, his stuff isn't as good as Ranger at his peak, obviously. And then, God willing, to make the NLCS, I'm someone who probably would lean going Walker Buehler as the game 4 starter over Aaron Nola. I actually think that they're going to rely on the guy who's been with the team a while. I think it would be kind of a weird dynamic not to have Nola as a starter in terms of the clubhouse and things like that. Like, personally, I would say I'm a Nola hater. Just calling it what it is. Obviously want him to have success when he's out there. I thought his, it's not saying a lot, but that was certainly his best start of the year. He had 8 innings of 2-hit, 1-run ball. Really nice to end the year on a strong note like that. But at the same time, I am very nervous about him pitching in the postseason, given what he showcased this season. I'd probably go Walker Buehler in that role, but I think he's going to, whether he's coming in as a starter or reliever, they're going to have some plus Aaron Nola innings either way this month or this upcoming month.
I almost lean too because, I'm not making much of the last 2 starts of the season for Ranger, and obviously he got hit on the thigh.
His last start's immaterial to me.
I'm almost leaning because I feel like no matter where he pitches, Ranger will show up for the moment.
Yeah.
I'm almost inclined to start Luzardo game 2 and
I don't hate that.
Like feed into the Citizens Bank Park crowd, because I feel like he would succeed even more knowing that like he's got those, 44,000 plus behind him. I feel like we've seen him in those home starts and just how fired up he gets, and how much he feeds off of that energy even in the regular season. So I'm only imagining what it's going to be like for him in his first postseason start if it's in front of, the home crowd. And Ranger can go out on the road. He can do it at home. We've seen him do it. But I am curious how they're going to play the 2-3 starter options in the NLDS.
You've changed my mind. I like that, because let's say they're playing either Cincinnati or LA, but let's say LA because we think that's the odds-on favorite. I don't want to just say this in the red sweep the Phillies and the NLDS, but they're the defending champions. They have all the big money players, big name players. Let's talk about that. They split in Philly to the Dodgers. Going back to LA for game 3, I'd be much, much more confident in them being able to split there and come back home if it was Ranger in game 3 as opposed to Jesus.
Yeah. And then you'd have, a Nola Walker Buehler tandem.
Yeah, and then you try to save. I don't know if Sanchez goes game 5 or game 4, and you just take things from there. But
yeah, it's going to be, especially because it is all lefties. Of your top starters. So it's going to be interesting how they decide to like formulate that and play that. What's your level of trust in the relievers?
It's my biggest concern. It's like my Eagles run game right now. There's a lot of excitement on the new guy, but it's been a little shaky as of late. I think he will be a guy that feeds into the playoff atmosphere, specifically at home. I think he'll do a nice job. But the other guys are a little concerning to me. I think you need 3 guys that are really, really going to get it done to go the whole distance. And the Phillies have only won it once in my life. They had that specific year. They had 3 arms you could rely on: JC, Ryan Madsen, and of course Litch. I think they have like 1.5 guys this year. That's my hold up right now. I need them to get out to some, 3-0 leads, 4-1 leads, 5-2 leads to give themselves a little bit of buffer when it gets to the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning in these playoff games.
And even in 08, Scott Air, I think number 4 at the trade deadline. And I think right now, like my level of confidence, like I still trust Durand, being the guy. And like you said, I think he's going to feed off the post. He had a phenomenal bit this year too at home, only pitching in night games. great job by him to play into his entrance.
Yeah, I hope they had that first NLDS game one. It's weird because you'd like them to blow them out. At the same time, I doubt I'll be into a playoff game price wise, but to be in that atmosphere, especially if it's a night game, Phillies are up 3-1, 2-1, whatever, and to see him running out there, people are going to absolutely lose their freaking minds. And I can't wait for it.
And it's just going to rattle whatever team is coming to Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah.
I to a degree, and I think he's pitched better, down the stretch. I trust Matt Strahm right now.
Okay.
I know he's had, hiccups, throughout the season, but like I think over the last month or so, he's pitched relatively well to where like if I see Strahm coming out of the bullpen, I'm not as nervous as I would be if I saw Orion Kerkering or, right now David Robertson. But it is one of those things where like you need one of those other guys to really pick up the pace in the bullpen, whoever it's going to be. I don't know who it will be, but it's going to be fascinating to watch how they deploy the bullpen too when they need them.
Yeah, I'm amped. I'm just amped.
What do you make of the 1:00 postseason starts for the wild card?
It would never be the Phillies. So what was it in 2022? Did they play at 3 in those St. Louis games?
I think it was. It might have been. It was like 3:08 local time, but it was 4:08 Eastern time.
Yeah. It's the AFC South is the AL Central, right? If you want to make that comp. I think if I was a fan of either of those fan bases, I'd be so fucking pissed off. I think that's terrible. It's really a disservice, specifically to the home team. I would like it if I was a fan of the road team in these series because, like, okay, well, the home field advantage isn't going to be there the way you want. And like, there's a scenario where a Yankees Red Sox winner take all wild card game on Thursday could be at 3:00 Eastern.
So disgusting.
That's disgusting, dude.
It's so
what happened to the game I love? I'm thinking as a kid, before the Phillies had that golden era, Yankees Red Sox is what you live for in baseball when the Phillies weren't in the playoffs. And to imagine a do or die game for those two franchises to be at 3:00 on a Thursday. I don't know what's happened.
Everyone from Deloitte's going to be running down in suits and ties to go watch.
Yeah, and those I guess the AL Central games are at noon local time too. You're having 3. This isn't the freaking 1913 World Series. Like, right? What are we doing? You know what I mean? You have lights out. Yeah,
like it's a New Year's Six bowl or something. Like,
look, I could get on a Saturday if there's
totally.
It's a quadruple header on a Saturday or Sunday. It's weird though. It's weird. It's a shame.
Strange.
It's a shame. I feel bad.
And it's so funny because it's like baseball took a nice little step forward. Everyone playing at the same time on Sunday.
I love that. I thought that was awesome. I thought that was awesome.
And now it's like, oh, here's 1:00 starts and then potentially a do or die Yankees Red Sox wild card game at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday.
I get it from the Cubs' perspective that they're playing at 3 and 2 local time because that's the team that's historically always played day games. So I don't think it matters as much for them. I think that's really a shame for the Detroit and Cleveland fan bases.
Yeah, and I did see the Dodgers are starting, I believe it's Blake Snell game 1 against the Reds.
Okay.
Which, like, I think that's a plus for the Reds to a degree. Blake Snell tends to kind of shrivel away in the postseason a little bit here and there.
I'm about to put that Ken Griffey jersey on from my youth. I'm all in on the Reds this week.
And then I think it's Yamamoto starting game 2. And then if it goes to game 3, which I hope it does, Shohei would start game 3. Yeah. But if it only goes 2 games, Shohei versus Christopher Sanchez at Citizens Bank Park on Saturday.
Yeah, screw it. Give me Shohei game 1. Let's take him yard. Let's. He's obviously on the go trajectory. No shade whatsoever. But I would love to beat the Dodgers. You know what I mean? You want to play the Reds, but who would you rather beat? Again, we can't just assume the Phillies are going to win. I'm not doing that. But I think a little bit back to, the 2017 Eagles, where they could have played the Jaguars or the Patriots Super Bowl. Obviously, you're rooting for the Jaguars in that game, but it was a lot sweeter to beat the Patriots, right? So I'm going to be rooting for the Reds. But if they're able to beat this Dodgers team in this era, I think they're going to win the World Series.
And harkening back to X-Men, it feels like this postseason could be a lot of Days of Future Past. with
Yeah,
potential
I like it.
opponents that line up. You know, Reds were 2010, Dodgers 08, 09, potentially the Brewers in there.
Oh wait, yeah.
There's a lot of, and then obviously, if, whoever comes out of the American League, if it's the Blue Jays, you get a little 93 justice, 2009 with the Yankees. Like, there's a lot of potential former postseason opponents that the Phillies could wind up playing against if all goes right.
I'd love to play either New York or Boston in the World Series, just from a bias perspective. I think playing the Yankees, a little revenge for 09, the preeminent franchise in the sports history, beating them would be awesome. Red Sox aren't too far behind there. I went to college with a lot of kids that are from Boston, have a lot of friends that are Sox fans. I think that would have a lot of juice for me in particular. And I think those are two cities that are, this isn't a new thought, but very similar vibes in those two cities. I think either of those matchups would be awesome, as would, the Toronto factor. We were having revenge for 93. I'm just happy the Astros aren't in it. Like, I didn't want to have, not that I was necessarily scared of playing the Astros in the World Series. Again, if the Phillies get there, it's on an assumption they're going to get there. That would have been a little boring to me. I don't think I even need that revenge for 2022. I want to beat someone new.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like World Series storylines, like if it is the Blue Jays, like you've got Toppers from Canada, and you get that aspect, and then Yankees wise, like Topper was on Girardi's staff in 09.
David Robertson won a ring that year.
Aaron Boone's a Philly guy. Like there's so many different like fun little wrinkles there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I think this, like, the American League playoffs are going to be the most toxic thing we've seen since the Athletic dropped the realignment of divisions and everything that could potentially happen. But it's going to be vile and foul on that American League side of the bracket with Tigers Guardians after everything that they've just gone through over the past couple of months with their division race. And now Yankees, Red Sox in the wild card for the right to play the Blue Jays. Like, it's going to be so much fun on the American League side. And then I think Reds Dodgers is going to be a lot more competitive than a lot of people are giving it credit for.
Yeah.
And then Cubs Padres, I think those two teams are just going to beat the ever-living piss out of each other.
Yeah, I think two teams that are really well-rounded in Chicago and San Diego, too. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And similar to, like, talking about if the Phillies make the NLCS, I'd love to see them play the Cubs. A lot of history for that franchise, kind of a preeminent franchise in terms of maybe not the rings, but the way the franchise and team is viewed in the cultural landscape. I think a Phillies Cubs NLCS would be really, really cool if they were to get there. If they were to get there.
To have back and forth between the Bank and Wrigley would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun next couple of weeks. Intrasquad game on Wednesday for the Phils. NLDS game 1 on Saturday.
I wish we knew the time. I know it's opponent dependent. Look, if they play the Dodgers, the game's going to be a little bit later for more marquee time wise, as well as the West Coast factor of their fans watching it. If they're playing the Reds, it's probably a little bit earlier in the day. Probably a little less marquee if you're not having the Ohtani Dodgers, power sphere effect. But I just want to know, man. I want to plan. I got to know like what outfit I'm wearing. It depends on what time the game is. I'm fucking crazy about stuff like that.
I'm like itching for that. And then Saturday we'll have NLDS game 1, and then at Subaru Park, the Union have their final regular season home game that could lock up the Supporters Shield, which would be awesome for them, second time in 5 years. So like there's a lot of stuff going on. And then Sunday, Eagles Broncos. Monday is game 2, if I'm not mistaken, of the NLDS.
Yep.
So
Wednesday, game 3, and then game 4, if it gets there in the NLDS, would also be on the day the Eagles play the Giants in the Meadowlands. That will be a day that you love having 2 TVs in your living room, like a sick freak.
100%. Shamus, this was a blast. Can't wait to keep doing these weekly spots with you here on the show.
Sure.
Let everybody know where to follow you. Check out the newsletter. And keep up to date with everything you're doing as well.
Sure. Twitter, Instagram, Shamus_Clancy. I'm on just Shamus on Blue Sky if you're on there. And on my newsletter, you can check it out. It's linked on everything that I have, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. From Broad Street with Love newsletter. You can probably just type that into Google, From Broad Street with Love, and Substack after it'll pop up. And it's free to subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Comes out every day, 5, 6, 7, 800 words. What's going on in the Philly sports world. Delivered right to your email inbox every morning.
And that'll be linked in the description of the episodes too. So definitely check that out. I get it in my email every morning. I read it every morning. It's truly great stuff, and looking forward to having you on throughout the next couple of weeks, Shamus.
Exciting month to be doing this for sure.
Shout out to Shamus Clancy, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to any potential new subscribers, new followers that hop on board, because Shamus is joining the show on a weekly basis now for some weekly hits throughout Red October and hopefully beyond, maybe through football season. We're playing it week by week. It's going to be a lot of fun, though, to have Shamus in the mix and joining us on the show to just talk Philly sports and just be fans about our team and give you that analysis that you crave from two people who care about our teams, but also want to give you the direct insight about how things truly are, and how you should interpret them, because sometimes our local media don't do a great job of articulating things. But we've got not only Red October on the horizon, we've got Eagles football on the horizon. Eagles Broncos is here, and our Eagles breakdown here are going to be brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Guys, there's no better way to stand out in the crowd than with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia, PHI Apparel Company, with their unique designs for all. There's no doubt in our minds that you will stand out in the crowd. Go to phiapparel.co, and when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND to get 10% off your next merch order at PHI Apparel Company. Again, that's phiapparel.co, code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your next merch order, and stand out in the crowd with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Eagles-Broncos upcoming. Going to be a very fun game, in my opinion. I think these two teams are going to give us a competitive matchup. And when I say competitive, I think the Broncos are a team that's kind of caught a little bit of bad luck to start their season. You know, that loss to the Colts was kind of brutal. Their loss to the Chargers, also kind of brutal. They beat up on the Bengals on Monday night. They beat up on the Broncos. Now they get, I think, their truest test here. And the Eagles get a test of a team that isn't necessarily a juggernaut. You know, I think the Broncos are the frisky pick this year for a lot of teams, for a lot of people, I should say, to be a dark horse playoff team. I think they have a lot of talent on their roster. Courtland Sutton, obviously Patrick Surtain on the defensive side of the ball. Sutton as a receiver. Mims Jr., Bo Nix is a quarterback that I think gets a lot of, bad flack when he shouldn't. I think he's a very quality quarterback. I think a lot of teams in the NFL would kill to have a quarterback like Bo Nix being their favorite team's quarterback. But it's not going to be an easy game. This is a game that the Eagles are going to definitely have to earn. You're going to be at home, which is big. And I think, you look at what the Broncos do well, they can sling the ball. They can sling the rock. And then it's going to be, Quinyon Mitchell against, these receivers. It's going to be the Patrick Surtain versus A.J. Brown show. Alex Singleton coming back to the link. But, the Broncos don't really run the ball that well. That's one thing to take away from this as well. J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey are their running backs. The Broncos as a team have run for 573 yards on the season so far. Passing the ball-wise, Bo Nix, 861 passing yards, 90 completions. He's averaging about 215.3 yards per game, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 3 sacks. He's a quarterback that you can certainly get after and have him make mistakes, and that's how you win. Courtland Sutton's their leading receiver with 266 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Troy Franklin has also been a big-time weapon for them. The stats don't reflect it, but he's always making plays, and Marvin Mims Jr. is their other receiver that I mentioned. So it's going to be those three. Adam Troutman at the tight end position hasn't really done much. Evan Ingram hasn't done much. It's a very one-dimensional offense right now for the Broncos. If you stop their passing game, you're going to have a lot of success. And by stopping their passing game, it's not even like that tall of a task per se. Yes, Bo Nix is very talented, but he's very mistake-prone too. You can force him into throwing bad passes. You can force him into throwing interceptions that will benefit you. And I think the big thing here is the Eagles have not really gotten a lot of pass pressure on quarterbacks. There's been, some big moment sacks so far this year. Moro Jomo last week was a big one. We had a couple big moments throughout the season so far, but you look at the defense and you look at the sacks leaders right now, it's not a lot there. Moro Jomo has 2 sacks, and I think he leads the team. Jordan Davis has 1 sack. Bond has 1. Andrew Makuba, Zadarius Smith have a half sack each. The Eagles have 5 sacks on the season. I think they need to get after the quarterback a lot more than they have so far, and it'll come. It's just a matter of creating that pressure, and to not have Nolan Smith now for the next few weeks, to not have some of your starters there is going to be tough, but you're going to need guys to step up. You're going to need the Zadarius Smiths to step up. You're going to need Trotter Jr., Jalix Hunt to really step up. I want to see more from those guys. And this is going to be a big game for the Eagles to really get the running game going. That's been a huge part of why the passing game hasn't really been there in a lot of ways. If you get the run game going, you're going to find success. Saquon Barkley, 237 yards rushing so far this year. They have to get him going, and it will get A.J. Brown going. It will get DeVonta Smith going. It will get Jahan Dotson going. And I think that is key. To get these receivers going in this offense will all be predicated on the run game. And you heard me and Shamus talk about that. Once they get the run blocking situated, obviously not everyone on the line is healthy, but getting that situated is going to be huge. And I think there's a real opportunity here for the Eagles to have a massive game in front of their home fans and really pop out and show that this team is Super Bowl contenders again. They're 4-0 and everyone's acting like the sky is falling. Do we not remember last year they were 2-2 and the sky was like through the earth's crust? It's going to take a little bit of time. And the fact that they got through that 4-game stretch 4-0 and are at the top of the NFC East, and they haven't even played their best football yet, should be a promising sign. They're going to get there. This team is too talented, too veteran-led to not figure things out, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with once everything is all said and done. So I'm very excited for this Broncos game. I'm looking at the defensive line to really create pressure on Bo Nix and force him into some mistakes. Andrew Makuba, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell are going to be huge, in the pass defense. I think the pass rush is going to have to be there, force Bo Nix into some mistakes, and then when you get the ball back, it's all about finding a tone and finding a flow to the run game so that A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, and the receivers can get involved, which will open things up again for Dallas Goedert, who's been great this year, don't get me wrong. But they definitely have to get the run game going. That is a huge key to the success against the Broncos. Get the run game going to open up the pass game, and don't get it twisted. This is going to be a big DeVonta Smith game. For whatever reason it may be, DeVonta Smith loves playing against the Broncos, and this may just be my brain remembering things differently than what it is, but DeVonta Smith in his career against the Denver Broncos, He's only played one game. I thought there was more. There has to be more. Let's see. Career stats. Yeah, just one game. And it was in 2021. His rookie season. He had 4 catches, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos. I thought there was another game. He might have missed that game, actually. Yeah, he missed that game. Because when did we play the Broncos last? Was that 2023? What? We definitely... Wow, it was 2021 was the last time we played them. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I remembered a little bit wrong. I thought we played the Broncos in 2023 or something like that, but nonetheless, the Eagles and Broncos all time. The Eagles are 9-5 in 14 games against the Broncos. Last one coming in 2021 when the Eagles won 30-13. The Eagles beat them in 2017, 51-23 at the Link. 2013, the Eagles lost 52-20 at Denver. 2009, the Eagles won 30-27, and in 2005, the Eagles lost 49-21, and then everything dates back to the 90s, 80s, and 70s, but this is a big spot for the Birds. I think this is a big, litmus test game for where they sit as a team and what they want to accomplish as a team, and I'm excited to see what they have in store for just the overall approach to this game will be and how they fix some of the mistakes that have plagued them. And I love that A.J. Brown shut everybody up this week because he said it like it is. He said it like it is. And I've been saying it on this podcast like it is for weeks. And A.J. Brown shut everybody up. And this comes from Tim McManus. He spoke to the media and said, I think it's fair to want the ball to get us going. Last week against the Rams, I caught a sluggo, got us going. Next play, it opened up Dallas Goedert when the safety came to my side and opened him up. It's not just for targets or putting numbers up. No, I see us struggling, and I'm a guy that wants the ball in those times. When we can't find a way, give the ball to me. Game on the line, give the ball to me. I want that pressure. I work hard for it. If that's the misconstrued way you want to take my frustration, I don't care. My teammates know, and I want everybody in the stadium to know. He has been like this since he's arrived in Philadelphia, and you guys continue. And when I say you guys, I mean the bozos at WIP, the bozos in the credentialed media, the bozos in the national media who just want to run with a clickbait headline and a clickbait story to get people all riled up, and then you have the morons who call into the radio station saying A.J. Brown's a diva, A.J. Brown's this, he wants out, we should trade A.J. Brown. Guess what, you fucking morons? You can't trade A.J. Brown first and foremost. The salary cap will not allow it. It will not be feasible. It's impossible to trade A.J. Brown. So everyone that's going out there saying, oh, they may try to explore it in the offseason, shut the fuck up. It's impossible. Second, A.J. Brown is not going to get traded because that would be stupid for the Eagles to do. He's one of the best players on the team. He's a captain on this team. He wants to win. He is a competitor. We as Eagles fans have clamored and craved for players to want the football, to be these dominant, just competitive beings for decades. Do we not remember how exciting it was to have a player like Terrell Owens on this team? How we always craved once he left to have a player like him? And now we have a player like him, and all of you fucking idiots want to try to run him out of town by spewing this nonsense. And guess what? You can't run him out of town because the salary cap won't permit it. But yet you want to run with that narrative too. Do a little research. Do your job. If I can sit here on a podcast that I do research for and say, A.J. Brown can't be traded because the salary cap won't permit it. You fucking idiots who get paid to do it, who get paid way more than I do to do it, should be able to do that job. Jeremy Fowler, who I have a lot of respect for, coming out and saying that he spoke to executives around the league. You didn't speak to any executive, because if you were an executive, you would know you can't fucking trade for A.J. Brown because the salary cap won't permit it. The Eagles would be it would put negative $80 million in dead cap on the Eagles salary cap if they traded A.J. Brown in the offseason. Cut me a break. A.J. Brown loves being here. There was another quote from this that I got to pull up from my good friend O.J. Spivey, who quote tweeted it because O.J. asked him about this last year. As I do a little scrolling here, great podcasting, I understand. Let's see here. A.J. Brown. Where was this tweet? Because I want to quote it correctly, because you morons don't like to look at the obvious things that actually matter. So, A.J. Brown. Boom. This is my home. I love it here. This is my home. I love it here. A.J. Brown. Quote. Let that run through your tiny pea brains. Anyone that wants to try to say A.J. Brown hates Philadelphia, wants out of Philadelphia, doesn't like quarterback, doesn't like coach, doesn't like this, doesn't like that, you sound dumb. You sound dumb. And it makes me laugh that you sound dumb. I'm happy AJ stood 10 toes down on business, reminded everyone of his Super Bowl speech. We reminded everyone of it too. I tweeted the video out. Don't we remember, just a few short months ago, A.J. Brown was up at the podium at the Art Museum and said, they said I was a diva. They said all I cared about was stats. Well, if there's one thing you're going to get right, it's that I'm a fucking champion. Because they continue to get everything else wrong. A.J. Brown is a Philadelphia Eagle. He wants to retire an Eagle. I've said this for forever, since this A.J. Brown drama started last year. This fabricated drama that comes out of the clouds. Just shut up. Watch him go ball out. And I guarantee AJ's going to put up numbers this week against the Broncos too. Good grief. You fucking bozos. Let's go around the NFL. Let me cool my jets here. Let's go around the NFL a little bit. Because we got some fun games coming up this weekend in the NFL. We had Thursday Night Football upcoming. 49ers and Rams on Thursday night is going to be absolute scenes. The 49ers are decimated by injury. Could be another big win for the Rams at home. Then in London, it'll be the Vikings and Browns on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Then Cowboys Jets Sunday, October 5th, again at 1 p.m. at the Meadowlands, or as Odell Beckham Jr. called it, Death Life. Giants Saints down in New Orleans. Raiders at the Colts. Colts looking to bounce back there. Dolphins at the Panthers. Broncos at the Birds. Texans at the Ravens. That's a big game for both of those teams. And then in the 4 o'clock window, 4:05, Titans, Cardinals, Buccaneers, Seahawks. 4:25, Battle of the Jungle Cats. Even though the Lions don't live in the jungle, it's Lions, Bengals, Commanders, Chargers at SoFi out in L.A. And then Sunday Night Football, Patriots, Bills. It's going to be frisky. It's going to be fun. And then Monday Night Football, frisky and fun as well. Chiefs, Jaguars. Fun slate of football this week, and you don't want to miss any of the action. And that's why you guys should use our link in the description and sign up for Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is the place to watch the NFL all season long. Don't miss a single second of the action. Watch your local teams on Paramount Plus. Visit the link in our description to sign up. Gear up for another NFL Sunday. Don't miss any of the action. If you're a student, now through the end of the year, you get 50% off any Paramount Plus plan when you use our link in the description to sign up. So if you're a student, don't miss any of the NFL action. Use our link, sign up for Paramount Plus today, and catch the NFL all season long on Paramount Plus. Fun slate of action this week in the NFL. Let me answer one thing here.
The Vineland Municipal Utilities is committed to helping your business succeed. As a community-owned utility, our focus is on service, not profit. From site planning to powering your operations, we can help you achieve your strategic goals. Whether it's a customized cost analysis of your usage needs, engineering support to ensure a smooth interconnection, or offering lower rates than neighboring utilities, we want to be your partner in creating an environment for long-term success. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
Sorry about that. Had an urgent text to get off. Nothing crazy, but had to get that off there. But yes, fun slate of NFL upcoming, and also very fun this weekend. We have the Philadelphia Union playing their final home game of the 2025 regular season, and there's something at stake at Subaru Park. Now, I am very bummed because I had a ticket to be at that game, along with Sarah and Matt. I got tickets for Matt's birthday for that game. And, of course, NLDS Game 1 is the game I get from my ticket lottery. And I won't be able to make it due to the start time. But Subaru Park is going to be buzzing because it's 7:30 Eastern. There will be a Supporter Shield match going down for the Philadelphia Union. With a win, the Union can clinch the Supporter Shield title and bring home just their second trophy in team history, the other being the 2020 Supporter Shield. And this is awesome for a multitude of reasons. The Union can clinch a Supporter Shield title, their second trophy, but they're also doing it in front of a sold-out crowd. The Union have Subaru Park sold out on Saturday night, or just about sold out. By the time the game rolls around, it might be sold out. All while the Phillies have a sold-out NLDS Game 1. I think that goes to show you that we, as Philadelphia sports fans, and we do a great job, as much as we can, and we're working on improving our coverage, but I think we do a damn good job bringing light to the masses that the Union are a damn good soccer team. And even though soccer's not a major force sport in North America per se, it's something that we should be very excited about because it shows the growth of the Philadelphia Union fan base, and it shows the growth of just how important this team is to the city and how important this team is to its fans, to MLS, and what this team has been able to accomplish since they came into the fold and how improved they have been over the years. And this current era of Philadelphia Union soccer and what it's been probably, the last 5 years per se, the tail end of Jim Curtin and now year one under Bradley Carnell, like the fact that you have a sold out, season finale at home while there's a playoff baseball game, the first playoff baseball game of the year going on just about the same time, is pretty damn impressive. And I think it's time that Philadelphia really gets behind this Union team, because as much as I love the Flyers and the Sixers and everything, they have not been great, okay? And while we still support them and still want them to be, the creme de la creme, we know the Flyers are in a rebuild. We know the Sixers have just been, the enigma of our brains for years and years and years. The Union are performing at such a high level, year in and year out, and they are competing at the highest level of MLS year in and year out. And they just need to get over that hump. And I think this is a year that they can really pop out and show people that, like, hey, we are legit, we are for real. And if the Union get even more support than what they normally get from an incredible fan base, and we get the casual fans, we get the people who don't normally pay attention to soccer or MLS getting behind this team, it's going to be like how the Phillies and Citizens Bank Park become, as Jeff Passan said, an SEC football game in a baseball stadium. It's going to be how Lincoln Financial Field is for every Eagles home game. Let's get behind this team, guys. You know, we saw what they were able to do in 2022 and almost won the MLS Cup. And, you know, they were a stupid Gareth Bale appearance for that LAFC team away from taking it home. But this team deserves your attention. This team deserves the support, and I'm very thrilled that they have a home finale sold out with a trophy on the line. I think that's so awesome. And I'm pumped to see what this team is going to be able to do once the postseason rolls around. And Saturday's going to be like a postseason tune-up for them. You know, they're playing NYCFC, which, if I'm not mistaken, they're still third in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, still third. And I mean, the Union are gearing up for what is going to be a very exciting postseason run. You know, they play New York City, they play Charlotte in the final 2 games of the season. Both are playoff teams, and it's going to be so much fun down the stretch. And I think this fan base deserves even more support. And if you're going to Subaru Park on Saturday night, let us know. We'll repost everything you share. Going to try to get Sarah to take over the Instagram story a little bit from the Sub while we're at Citizens Bank Park. This weekend is going to be electric. Before I put a bow on this episode, I want to talk to you guys about our awesome pals at Bino. Bino is the leader in the next big tabletop game experience. It's paper football meets foosball. Break it out at a tailgate. Break it out in your man cave, your she shed, the parties you're going to, whatever it may be. You're going to be the talk of that event. Use our link in the description. Shop with Bino. Get your official Philadelphia Union licensed boards. You can also customize boards. They're dropping new limited edition boards nearly every week. You can customize your boards as well with different accessories and such. Use our link in the description. When you go to checkout, use code BinoBennett62. That's code BinoBennett62 when you use our link in the description to shop with Bino to get 10% off your next order. And we thank Bino for being a proud partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It is going to be a weekend for the Bucs. We've got NLDS Game 1 on Saturday. We've got the Philadelphia Union final regular season home game with a Supporter Shield title on the line on Saturday. We've got Eagles Broncos at the Link on Sunday. And then on Monday, we've got NLDS Game 2. All coupled in with a Flyers preseason game on Saturday at 12:30. All coupled in with the Sixers in their preseason mode. It's going to be a wild, wild weekend. And I cannot begin to explain my excitement. If you're going to any of the games, have a blast, be safe, and just enjoy this time of the year that we're living in, because it is going to be absolutely incredible this whole month of October. And I can't wait to experience it with you all. And we're just going to have the time of our lives. I'll tell you that much. We are going to have an experience like no other. So let's gear up. Red October is here. The birds are buzzing. The Union are gearing up for the postseason as well. And we're going to have ourselves a time. Make sure you guys are following us for this time of the year and all the time at Underground PHI on every social platform. Be sure to follow us. It's going to be electric. I'll tell you that much. The content we're going to be pushing is going to be crazy. So follow us. Be sure to subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Be sure to subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Leave a like on the video. Drop a comment in the comment section. Click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. Subscribe to Shamus Clancy's newsletter From Broad Street with Love. It's linked in the description. It's free to subscribe. It's a great read that pops into your email inbox every single day. He's cooking with that thing, and weekly appearances with Shamus moving forward here on Underground Sports Philadelphia. And as always, guys, you already know this show is proudly presented by the city of Vineland. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, November 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meet Melissa Joan Hart plus fan favorite stars like Dan Parent, the legendary Archie's comic artist and writer, Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, Splinter, and Baby Sinclair, and Keith Williams, the iconic comic book inker from Marvel, and more. Comics, cosplay, collectibles, and over 6,000 fans. Visit gscfvineland.com for all the details. Again, the Garden State Comic Fest is coming to the new Vineland Convention Center Saturday, November 15th and Sunday, November 16th. Visit gscfvineland.com for all the details. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. This has been episode number 782, a Red October Primer edition, a Let's Beat LA edition, Eagles Broncos preview edition, Union going for the Supporter Shield edition, and the first of many appearances by Shamus Clancy edition of Underground Sports Philadelphia. I'm your boy KB. Let's have ourselves a month of October, ladies and gentlemen. Go Phils, go Birds, go Union. I'm getting the heck up out of here. I'll see you at the bank on Saturday. But until then, I'm getting the heck up out of here, and I'm signing off. Peace.